as always, I will start by sharing my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Cool. So we will be going through the metrics first. I think we will start with the MRs merged per month. Looks like we've hit the highest so far in July at 1,900 MRs this month, which is great. Moving to MRs merged per month. We've also been trending up, and I know that we've been talking about the calculation of authors as well, so we can tackle that later as part of the agenda. But metrics seems to be looking good. We're trending up, and I would like to skip this one this time. We don't have any action items here, but as far as monitoring the trend of closing is when it's $2, and with the emphasis on having product management regroom P1, P2s, and P3s, I think we'll keep this as a monitoring mechanism for now. There's no threshold or action item here that we can define. With that, I'll give it to Craig for the hypothesis.
Let's see. So looking back at the hypotheses, so hypothesis 8, I suppose I can share my screen. So Christopher, we talked a bit about hypothesis 8 last week, and I think there was a correlation to the hiring. There was an inflection point around the time that we hit the peaks of the average MRs per author per month, and there was an exponential growth in hiring during that time. So I don't think we didn't come to a conclusion on that one. Probably need to wait for Christopher to get back to close this one out. But I think that's the closest correlation that we can draw, was that the number of hires that came in negatively impacted the number of MRs that we are closing per month. And then on, I'm sorry, that was the size. I'm sorry, I'm getting them backwards. So let me open this up.
So we're moving to number 9 now, correct? Or are we still on number 8?
Sorry, that was number 9. I'm going backwards here. Developers with less tenure in GitLab are still learning, having a negative impact on the average MRs per month. And what we saw is the exponential growth in hiring on between the periods of, it was January 1st, 2018 through June of 2018, or where the peaks were in the dashboard graphs. And we saw that that's when we had an exponential growth in hiring as well. So I think we saw a correlation there, but we didn't come to a final conclusion. For number 8, it had to do with average size of MRs. And having that negatively impact. The hypothesis is that new developers come in, and they are used to smaller size MRs, and that impacts the average MR per developer per month. And I did not see a correlation of that. If anything, actually, the size of the MR gets smaller over time based on data that I pull in. So I couldn't get the data into Periscope in time, so I ended up writing a quick script to bring it in. And there is a changes count size that's available in the API. So for every MR that is submitted and closed, you can count the number of files that are affected. So I pulled all that in, and then graphed it out here so you can see for someone that has only been on staff for a month, the number of changes and the files that were affected by those change.
Sorry, which chart are we talking about now?
Can you see it on my screen?
We only see the document, the Google Docs.
Let me reshare. All right, can you see this one?
Yes.
All right, cool. Sorry, apologies.
No worries.
So what we were seeing was actually the size of the MR decreases with tenure. So I think that is at odds with the statement of the hypothesis that developers actually come in, and the newer developers with less tenure submit smaller MRs compared to those who are longer tenured and more productive. What we're seeing with the trends is the actual size of the MRs goes down the longer the person has been with the company. So I think that disproves the hypothesis.
Got it. So people are iterating and shipping smaller increments as time goes on. That's great. Okay.
Yep.
Let's write this down, and then when Christopher comes back, we can just mark this one as closed out. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I put it in the link, the issue for the hypothesis in my comments below. So, and there's a link to the graph as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we can summarize when Christopher gets back.
Great. Thank you for writing the summary on the bullet point number 9 as well. Okay, so we potentially invalidated 8, and we will validate 9.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, we're almost done with the hypothesis. That's great. Thank you for the awesome work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will go to the agenda now. Just to follow up, we no longer detect mis-SLOs on P3s, and we also remove mis-SLOs on P3s as well, just to have a clean slate as PMs go in and reroom P2s and P3s again. Thank you, Remy and Kyle, for this. Josh, any comments, feedback here? I think for that, we're done in terms of SLOs and pressure on P3s.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an open question around, this is the long discussion going on an issue around like whether to try and shift the due date, the time-based SLO to a due date. So I'd be curious what your thoughts about that, and that way there would be less pressure. My concern there is that then the priority labels lose all meaning, and how often are people going to actually set a due date is my concern, right? Because I would, and so unless you have metrics that can somehow still capture like how long these issues are open for, I don't think it makes sense, because then no one's using a consistent what a priority means. So then it's really hard to actually judge anything, right, as far as how buggy stages are. So I'm still going to try and push, I think, to have to regroom and have the priority labels largely mean that it should get addressed within the time frame, rather than mostly matching up to the like the severity labels, because otherwise you end up with like a whole bunch of P2s and P3s that just don't make any sense. And then we can use the severity labels to sort of just see how we're doing as far as over time, as far as how severity, how many.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm pushing for. And so we're still working through getting consensus on that. But I think we're getting close. So, and then once that's done, then we'll hopefully go through and regroup.
I know Christopher has concerns on using due dates everywhere. Okay. And I think due dates, it has a certain level of urgency, and security is using it. My concern with due date is that it's another mechanism to set, and it's very granular. It's like the exact date on an exact week on the calendar.
Yeah.
What's the read on the consensus so far? Do you think it's going to be priority, or it's going to be due dates?
I mean, I think it'd be a priority. I think it has to be a mutual thing between engineering and product management. And so I think my worry is similar to yours, I think, is that people aren't going to use this often. And then then you lose any common definition of what a priority means. And so then it's just like some arbitrary label that people just put on stuff. At least we have a common definition of what P1 through 4 means, and then we have a common definition of what severity means, and I think that's a better path forward than having a due date.
I agree with that. And if we use due dates, we also need to write code to detect why this is an S1 and it doesn't have a due date set, and all the paperwork that comes along with it as well.
From a customer perspective, like due dates look like promises, and so they also I would also be in favor of not setting a due date, because when those things slip, we hear about it. We hear about milestones too, but we'll definitely hear about dates.
Thanks. That's good color.
Moving on to the next one. What else do you need or want us to add in the group and stage views, Josh? I know Periscope is not there yet. Do you want the accumulated bugs per stage, per group?
I think that would be ideal. I think that'd be the one thing that's missing. I think we can make do. I like the other chart where you have the open versus closed trend, like on the same chart. But that, I think that if I had to pick one thing, it'd be the cumulative. That way you could look at a picture of like, we have the open per month, and that's helpful, but I think once you get the cumulative, it really starts to like drive home like what the actual backlog is, right? So I think that is helpful.
Got it. So just so that I'm clear, right? I think it's under bugs by team, and we'll probably get rid of this soon because it's now stage and groups instead. So we want the second.
Oh wait, yeah, I think it was in there where it's yes.
This one, correct? We want this one in the stage and group views. So
yeah, I think that way you can get a sense of, per group, what's that looking like and what's their breakdown.
Okay.
And it might be good to get that. Is there one for severity as well, or?
There's one for severity as well, correct?
Okay, cool.
Would you like both?
I don't want to have a whole bunch of them.
If we are emphasizing on priority, I would say go with priority.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll start there.
Okay, sounds good. Take an action item here.
We do have pie charts already for stage and groups. So maybe we should change that to bars. Or do we want like the historical data?
Yes, I think what Josh is aiming for is the historical accumulation of how they are. And let's pin out priority.
Yeah, I think otherwise it's just hard to get a complete picture of like what your backlog looks like if you only see like month to month what the current numbers are. And so this way it's easier to tell if it's like a linear growth pattern, exponential growth pattern, or like what's happening.
Okay. Yep, action item added. Let's move on to the next one. So we added miss versus delivered deliverables already. This is what Christopher was asking last week. Let me share my screen again. Is there an issue with the dashboard?
For me, sometimes it takes a little bit to load.
Yeah, let me dive into this. This has also been added to each DevOps and groups view. So yeah, so the chart here, when it renders, it should show that. If it doesn't, it's probably a bug that we need to look into. But now for the group level and for every stage, we now have delivered deliverables and what is not delivered in that realm of their scope.
That's awesome. I think one thing in talking with a few PMs that we might want to think about is how to handle like things that are consciously added to the release like midstream, and not just like they weren't planned originally, but maybe something comes up, a bug or whatever it is, and you want to get it in. Do you set that as deliverable? Maybe you just do, I think, actually, since it was like agreed upon across the whole team, and then maybe you can handle it that way. But that's one thing that they come up with, what's a good standard process that we should have for that, so that we know what happens with these metrics.
Is there a notion of associating deliverables with a feature only, or is it a free form right now that you can add it to any ticket, any issue?
So one thing we did find out on the PM call on Tuesday was that there is no standard process for deliverables. Some teams aren't even using the deliverable label apparently. And some folks, the PM is setting it, some folks, the EM is setting it. So an action item out of there was that we wanted to find the process. So I have on my to-do list to make an MR to try and have a common flow that we have a common usage of these labels that we're using for metrics. I don't think I care who sets the deliverable label, but I think what I was using it for, and we can discuss what we want it to be, is just anything that was planned. And so if you're planning bugs, then they should have deliverable label.
I think it's great. I think if it's used right, that's like something we aim to deliver. So yeah. It should just be same across the board. Okay. Anything else, Josh?
No, I think those are the two updates there.
Okay, got it. Moving back to the agenda then. Next up, so we're gonna remove deliverables when current milestone is +1. I think it's still on track to be merged by the end of this week. And you can easily spot this now because like there are some issues marked as deliverable scheduled for 12.7 for this particular stage. And you can use this to essentially spot like if things have been added in the future or whatnot. When that change goes in, you should only see 12.4 and none beyond that. Okay, I do want to show this one. This is part of the bugs that we uncovered. I think it was a month ago, and we just circle back to it now. So thanks to Remy, this is a comparison because we did not account for non-uniqueness. It was only unique issues. So if an issue has missed 11.8 and also missed 11.9, it only renders as one of them, which is the earliest one. The fix that Remy made now renders non-uniqueness, so you will see two miss 11.8, and it could be the same issues that missed multiple times, but now you get a sense of what was missed. Josh, any comments? This should fix your high-level metric when you plot what was missed, what was delivered.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you for that.
Great. Next one is mine as well. So I think we have made a bunch of progress this past few weeks. Tanya is being transitioned over to focus on self-managed scalability, memory, and also performance. And Kyle and Remy will be the mainstays here. I'm still hoping that we can close this working group out soon. It looks like we can, if we can reach a decision how we can move forward with Periscope, because that seems to be the next big thing for metrics. And I think the current dashboard is already sufficient to enable all the PMs and EMs to groom and then look at their issues. So we can talk about that as well. Josh, Craig, comments? Sounds good. Okay. Lyle? Okay. Next one up, fixing the author calculation. There are multiple ways to do this, but it seems like the data from Bamboo is already in Periscope. I know Christopher and Craig and Shun have been looking at this data as well. So I'm going to propose we do per engineer data in Periscope. Josh, do you have any feedback here versus doing it in the current quality dashboard? Because it seems like throwaway work.
I think it depends on what your larger strategy is. I don't like, as a PM, I don't really care where it goes, like where these dashboards are, and so I think just whatever makes sense, like long term. So I think the main blocker on Periscope was that it couldn't do Excel exports, and so I'm not sure if that's like a hard stop or whatnot. But yeah, I think from the PM standpoint, I think it would let you all figure out, like, you know, where the best place to put these charts are, whether to continue investing in the quality dashboard or to shift things in the Periscope.
So the way I see it, the quality dashboard is going to be kind of like the legacy production data into the next quarters until things are running smoothly, right? I think we'll go in and build Periscope and build it out. The CSV export is a blocker. Yes, it's not there yet, but data at a high level that management is interested in should just be in Periscope, and I see per engineer data as one of those high level metrics. Like we don't need an export for that chart. As long as the calculation is correct, Sid's happy, Christopher's happy, let's just do it in Periscope.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's some value in having it all in one place so that like the individual teams can see that, but I'm not sure they're that worried about, you know, a given their own team's trend line on MR person. I mean, maybe the EM is, but yeah, I think this is mostly a Christopher and Sid thing. So it makes sense to put it in Periscope first.
Yes, I think the total number per group makes more sense because we don't want to peg that to an individual performance, right? So I think looking at the holistic view at the team level works, but then Periscope and KPIs is another thing, and I know that's in the line of sight of Christopher as well. So I want to respect that. I know there was some investigation. Craig, do you have any insights on how the calculation is going? I know you have some prototypes and such. Maybe you'd like to share, or
yeah, just when I was doing the research on the average MRs and trying to figure out where the trend lines were over time, I noticed that some of the authors were not in the team YML, and I ended up importing team YML into a local database so that I could focus entirely on employees and then narrow it down to titles as well. So as Joshua said, you know, I don't care where the ultimate destination is as long as the data is clean, right? And we can do that overlap easily, so that I had to manually import all the data into a local database to be able to extract the data I was looking for. So if it's all in Periscope, that's fantastic. I won't have to do it anymore.
Yep, I think the decision should be that we should just do this in Periscope. And yeah, I've already discussed it with my team, and they do have Periscope editor access now. We can just go in and collaborate there.
Yeah, and yeah, cool.
Cool. We are on time today. This is great. I'm going to review the exit criteria. I did mark this one as done. That's the diff here. The trash package version 2 has been rolled out now, and to every groups. You should be seeing heat maps and etc. On my part, this is 80. I don't think we had a venue for PMs to ask us questions on what to use, what trash package to use or whatnot. But I think we could do another YouTube recording sometime in the next few weeks once we have alignment on priority. And then the next one is, I don't know if there were any updates on training for EMs on KPIs. This was 50 before. So I think these are the long hauls that we need to look at. This is done. I did not update this. My apologies. So I will grade this after the meeting. So I think we're close to done. One comment here, and I don't think we can lower the time to resolve S1, S2s with the emphasis on P labels, right? So I'm going to propose actually to remove this exit criteria. It's not achievable. And I think we should be capturing the improvements that we do not detect missed SLOs on P3s anymore. We're doing good on P2s. And going forward, we'll be emphasizing on using priority labels instead. What does the team think?
Sounds good.
Josh?
Sorry, I was looking at my next meeting. So exit criteria. So the question is whether we can move the average time to resolve or.
So this one can be resolved. I don't think so, because this is like lowering the time to resolve S1, S2s by a very high margin.
That's not going to happen for a long time because there's such a huge backlog that's going to take months. I mean, if we even just prioritized all, well, S1s actually probably isn't too bad, but the S2s are probably going to be a challenge.
Right. So what I said before is I'm going to change this to capture what we've changed on the SLOs. We emphasize P1 and P2s now, and that's in a good state, which is good. And we're going to emphasize using priorities going forward. And I think that's good enough for the exit criteria, and it's achievable.
Yeah, I think so. And then we just kind of need to keep an eye on S1 and S2s and make sure people aren't gaming the system by setting, pushing all S1s and S2s down to like P4s and things like that. But
cool. I'll spin up another MR to grade this for what we discussed, and I'll send it for everybody to review, and we can do that asynchronously. That's okay. Cool. Alrighty then. I'll upload the YouTube recording as well. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week, and hopefully we can close this working group out soon.
Thanks, Mac.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mac.
Bye-bye.
Bye.